League versus Invasion of Astro-Monster / a.k.a. Godzilla versus Monster Zero. I'm Matt Dursin.
I'm John Takarada Hunt.
Clay Zero-Ferno here.
Ah, very good. So is Monster... You were in a band called Monster Zero, right, Clay? Or Wild Zero. I'm sorry. Wild Zero. I'm sorry.
It's called Wild Zero, not Monster Zero.
Let's just forget that I said anything. But yeah, so John's dad, Akira Takarada, this is one of his. And I have to tell you, I could not do this without thinking of that song you used to sing. But Akira Takarada,
to Danger Death Ray theme song.
And that's it, right? There's no other words or anything.
It's ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba and Akira Takarada, and that's how it works.
Every time he was on screen, even I was just like, "There's Akira Takarada." Because it's Godzilla's 70th birthday. In fact, it was just the other day, right? Or as we record this, it was a couple days ago. It was his official 70th birthday, which is the release of the first movie, right?
Correct.
70 years ago. So go back and listen to our podcast on that way back. I don't know. We did that a few years ago. So go way, way back in the way back machine.
Yeah.
Or do we have a Godzilla thing, Clay?
LeaguePodcast.com/Godzilla for all your Godzilla needs. And you might even hear about how they made the roar on.
I think we covered that maybe twice in the same episode.
Oh, no. Oh, that's it's funny.
That was early pandemic days, by the way.
It was, yeah.
I think it was, yeah. We had just started this new format, talk about one thing instead of a million things. But really, we're talking about everything. It's a slice of life. But anyway, yeah, so this movie, this is Godzilla versus Monster Zero, or also known as Invasion of Astro-Monster. I'm still kind of confused on how this happens. Anyone want to explain why there are two names to this movie?
It's just that the American distributors were just like, Astro-Monster is a crappy name. Let's call it this instead. They're
not wrong.
Yeah, there are some other ones that, there's a movie called Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, all giant monsters attack or something like that. That's a terrible name.
All Out Attack?
Yeah. It's like a terrible name. So because if you're just directly translating from Japan, you get some weird titles. So that's
because this one would have been called Kaiju Dai Senso, the Great Monster War.
Yep.
In Japan, and it became Invasion of Astro-Monster in the US. It was even known as Invasion of the Astros in some regions.
That's when the
near Houston.
Astros.
Yeah, down there in Houston. Yeah.
One of my favorite MLB uniforms, the classic ones, by the way.
With the orange stripes.
Yeah, like
the orange and yellow stripes.
Just kind of like reminds you of like Mr. Carter's apartment. Yeah. Yeah.
It reminds me was it Beech Nut, or there was like a gum that was kind of all brown like that. Or it was something like that. Was it Beech Nut? I don't know.
I think so. I think you're right.
Anyway, this was a follow-up to Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, right?
Sure.
Like this. Oh, okay. Don't you know? Aren't you God?
What does God need with a kaiju? These movies are like loosely connected. They're not like really direct sequels, other than Godzilla is in it.
But this was the movie after that, right?
Sure. Yeah, I'll take your word for it on this one. Sorry, I don't remember offhand.
I'm pretty sure I heard that. If we're talking just timeline order, I think the movie before this was Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. He's back. He is Monster Zero, as they referred to in the
spoiler
alternate title. Yeah.
Even though it's like on the poster.
Well, we'll get there, I guess. No, Godzilla this is also a turn though for Godzilla. He was a little more, not only kind of a good guy, but also kind of goofy.
First time. Yeah, this is the first time he's a good guy and he does a dance. So there you go.
The famous dance. That's what this movie is in Godzilla fandom, what it's mostly revered for. Not that it isn't great otherwise.
I don't know about revered, but it is definitely remembered.
Oh, some other.
So that is I guess, should we just talk about it now? That's like a sort of a gag, or almost like there was a it's a manga sort of like thing. We go this character Osumatsu Kun. He would do this dance every time he was surprised, and he would scream like "Shay" or whatever, or "Shay."
It's the Godzilla Shay, she,
and
Shay.
it became a big thing in Japanese popular culture. So, around this time, this is 1965, by the way. We should point out this movie came out in 1965.
There are images of Nick Adams and Kumi Mizuno doing that little dance move too as well out there.
I mean, it is like, they're just having a laugh. It seems like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was Eiji Tsuburaya, the special effects man, who was like wanted Godzilla to appeal more to kids, so he just kept putting in more goofy and childish things into it. And the people around him were like, I don't know if this is a good idea. And even Godzilla suit actor Haru Nakajima was like, I don't know about this. And even the director,
right?
Like,
Ishiro Honda,
yeah,
the director, opposed.
But they did it, and then they still put it in. I mean, you'd think you could film it, but just don't put it in.
I think the studio said, yeah, you're putting that in. And so the director was like, fine.
The best part about it is in that scene, he's doing the dance, jumping up and down, doing his little dance. And then it cuts to the leader of Planet X going, a happy moment.
A happy moment. Well, we'll get there, but you have to cover the dance. But we might as well start talking. Thanks for talking. Talking about this movie from the beginning, because this is it's sort of an unnamed year. They don't say what year this is taking place, but it seems to indicate it is the future. And these two astronauts, one American astronaut Glenn, as they call him in the movie, Nick Adams, Akira Takarada, they're going to Planet X, which is a new planet it's not a new planet, but a planet just discovered it out by Jupiter.
Yeah. Even though, don't they say it's like in the Scorpio constellation or something? Something weird.
It's kind of a,
they say it's like, you can't see it. It's just behind Jupiter. It's like, it's back there though. But also noted that this movie came out in 1965. There was manned space flight by then. They did know kind of how to make suits and make things look like not 100% believable, but a little bit more like the real thing.
Right. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I mean, that stuff is fine. Although these look like they're using adding machines on some of these things. But,
well,
it's not bad.
Calculations,
Yeah, for 1965, it's not bad. Yeah, the space suits and whatever. The ship is called P1. It looks kind of like those old Lego things that my brother used to make.
P2.
Oh,
hey, we're trying to appeal more to kids.
Yeah, that's right. We'll call it P1, PP1. So you're gonna like a kid. Akira is a little upset. His sister is dating this inventor. So he's sort of like dumping on Glenn here. He's like, oh, my sister is dating this inventor. He doesn't think he's good enough for her.
Good enough. Yeah. My sister's dating this Japanese Charlie Sheen. Now, they in the dub version, they do make him much more of like a sort of a wimpy dude. Like, oh God, what are we gonna do? In the original, he's not quite as dorky. Just
okay.
Put that up.
That's good to know, because he was kind of a dope. And I was like, why is this guy in this movie?
It's kind of about his invention.
Yeah, I know. In the end, I'm like, I hope they bring this in. And, of course, spoiler warning, they do. They land on Planet X. There's magnetic disturbances.
I don't know. Again, I might be jumping ahead at points. I apologize.
No, it's okay. I mean, so the thing is, this guy, Tetsuo, the inventor, like his invention was bought by a toy manufacturer or whatever, but
it's called the Lady Guard alarm.
Yeah.
I don't know if you already said that or not. Sorry.
No, I didn't. And
it just makes a horrible, I don't know. Just cut that part from Dumb and Dumber in where you want to hear the most annoying noise ever or whatever. And
did you watch that YouTube video, that same YouTube video that I did, where somebody already did that?
I did not, so forget it. Don't do that then.
Good job. No, I mean, it's pretty funny. But yeah, it is the most annoying sound. It's just like a loud,
it sounds like a bunch of bugs in the summertime with another. It's like with a weep over it.
Yeah, It's like, why would a toy company buy this? No parent would want
that's
their
Jesus.
kids to have that thing.
Well, John,
like,
did you like the models in the toys, and like when they actually land on Planet X with the action figure like going?
I like
down
the guy down on the elevator. That's great.
Yeah, going down the elevator and stuff.
It's like you could see it, like it's shaking a little bit as it's going down. It's not super smooth. I love that stuff. It's so.
Me too. I really loved it.
I mean,
was pretty fun.
one of the things with them is that they're like, well, it doesn't have to really be realistic. They're just going for sort of an impression of realism.
Yeah.
Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah,
I guess. So yeah, they land and they plant like a nice Japanese and American flag sort of like on this planet. The space race was on. This was like a big thing. So
and Japan was a big competitor in the space race. No, I'm kidding.
Well, still.
But yeah, I mean the even just the idea to have this movie be released in the US at the same time and have an American actor and everything was like, let's combine forces here.
Yeah,
and change the title 10 times and release it as many places as we can. Let's come up with a Russian title too. Although they didn't want to do that.
No Russian commie bastards. Anyway, so Glenn, does he just disappear, I guess? And
then, he's just gone.
The controller goes,
he's chasing some tail.
Well, he does like those Exilians. How do they like these aliens from Planet X
or something like
Exilians?
That? Exilians, like aliens, but with an X in front of it.
Yeah, Exilian, whatever. Anyway, so this guy here, he comes out of the ground and he says, he's not even, you just hear his voice, I think. I am the controller of Planet X. And he insists that Fuji enter, and he's got a gun, they shoot it out of his hand. It's kind of like a weird, follow the light. It's like, oh, go towards the light. Like when somebody dies or something. Then he sees Glenn, and they see the Exilians.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
You just call them aliens.
Yeah, I'll just call them. They're so advanced, but they really, they look like some kind of new wave band or something.
Yeah, they're from Devo or something.
Yeah.
I love it.
So they don't have any hydrogen peroxide. Wait, that's not right. Not peroxide. No. Hydrogen oxide. And they're like, that's water. Glenn and Fuji are like,
Planet X is short on water.
It should be pointed out, Glenn does speak English the entire, even in the subtitle version, right? Like the Japanese version.
Yeah, I think they actually dub him in the Japanese version.
Right. But I mean, in this version, in the version I watched, anyway.
Oh, okay, well, I was watching your version. So.
Well, he speaks English and everyone else is dub. So it's the same thing. I mean, but it's happened a few times though in Godzilla movies, right?
Yeah. He was in a couple of these things. He was in Frankenstein Conquers the World, and he spoke English for all his parts. They spoke Japanese, and then they dub him for each country. Like they dub him for Japan, and they dub everyone else for English speaking areas. So
I hope they stay consistent with his kind of down home, I got a date,
I don't think so, because Mrs. Elder, when we were after I was reunited with my Japanese father 5 or 6 years ago, whenever it was, and we were watching all his movies, and we watched it. She insisted on watching the original language, and I don't recall them really trying to imitate Nick Adams in the voice.
Yeah, just as well. They need the aliens. There's Monster Zero. Everything on their planet has a number designation, and this is Monster Zero. And Monster Zero is terrorizing the surface, and they can't live up there, and they don't have any water. So they want to borrow Godzilla and Rodan to chase off Monster Zero, and then they can live on the surface happily. And in exchange,
kind of a weird strategy.
Yeah,
let's get 2 more monsters.
And then also, the surface of the planet is not really much to look at.
It's kind of rocky.
Yeah.
So anyways, they want to bring 2 more monsters, And they're like, we don't know where Godzilla is. And they're like, oh, well, he's in Japan, where he always is. He never goes anywhere else.
He's a homebody.
Anyway, so yeah, I like it. They're like, why don't you just drive him away? They're like,
He's like,
and he's like, if you have any ideas,
yeah, just let me know. All right,
Yeah.
smarty pants.
yeah.
Why don't you just tell me the name of the monster you want to leave the planet?
It's kind of a weird. I don't really get this part. So like they start questioning things, and then he just presses a button, and Glenn and Fuji are just in this weird bubble. They were sitting in like a room a minute ago, and then a second they're just like, whoop, oh, here we are in this weird bubble.
Hey, I think every guy who's married would like to have one of those. Am I right, fellas?
Yeah, right. It's like the cone of silence.
Yeah.
Do whatever.
I don't know. I'm not.
So,
married.
anyways,
Oh,
Clay, the same thing. You're a common law partner. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so yeah, so in exchange for Godzilla and Rodan, they're gonna give him this miracle cure for all diseases. Like, all right, sounds good. They send them on their way, basically. Go back to Earth and tell them what we want. And then the guy like kind of gives a maniacal laugh.
yeah.
Maniacal laugh.
Like us after we hang up from the podcast each time. I'm like,
So they want to debate, and like, yeah, there's not really much debate. They're like, yeah, we can cure all diseases. Let's do it. Nobody's like, whoa, they're aliens? Like, no.
well, aliens aren't a big deal because there are monsters. So
I guess
Yeah,
so.
and they're
Right.
aliens that look exactly like humans.
Japanese.
With just like
Japanese.
yeah, they look like Japanese humans with like antenna on their head and
little like
they look-
elk shoes.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
with cool collars and like a keytar in front of them.
Yeah. They were that was the basis at the end of Revenge of the Nerds was inspired them to do. Does anyone remember that, or am I just
No,
No, I
on
don't.
15.
I believe
No,
Yeah.
on 15. I know what you're talking about. Dog.
all right?
So there's like a lot of weird stuff. Like Terry's, not Terry. Well, his name is Tetsuo Terry. Is the guy. He's like, "What are you doing with my invention?"
Like, shut up,
Yeah.
weirdo. It's like he just keeps coming around the office and asking about what they're gonna do with his invention.
Yeah, and like there's a weird there's a guy. He's not really, he ends up not being important that much, but there's this old guy, and he's wearing. I just like it because he's wearing a towel and pants. Like,
As
why are you
one
wearing
does.
the towel's like wrapped around him? Like, but you're wearing pants. He says to get rid of Terry politely. It's like, oh, and then they burn the plans for his invention. So it's very suspicious. The Glenn and Fuji are having like they're talking over dinner stuff. They meet the sister and Tetsuo, and Fuji is he's like, oh, there's no this guy, and Glenn's like, hey.
There was apparently in Japan. I guess it's not really as much like that, but like suitors would often go to a sibling of who they were dating and ask their permission to get married or to date. And so that's what this is all about. And Fuji is not really having it because he thinks he's just a bum, an idiot.
Food.
Yeah.
Oh, food.
And then I like Nick Adams. They're like, we have mutual respect kind of shit. He's like, oh, mutual respect's important and all this. And he's like, shut up, Glenn.
Yeah, he's like,
That's not gonna buy. Yeah, that's not gonna buy groceries and stuff. So
That's right. And they're so expensive now. So anyway, yeah. And Glenn's like, I got a date. And she's like, oh, won't you stay? His sister, I forget her name now. I'm sorry. I keep saying the sister, but yeah. So he's dating a lady, and it's the woman like who was going to buy his invention.
Miss Namikawa.
Namikawa, yes. So, it's all coming together here. I thought this was a weird thing. So like in the next scene, he brings Glenn up to this. Glenn brings Fuji up to this thing.
Yeah,
He's like, this is where I brought Namikawa. It's like, what is this? Like, you're taking me on a tour. This is where we boned. Like, what? Like,
it looks really weird too that they're like sitting up like in the car and the sun is low in the sky and stuff. It looks like he's trying to.
It's like make out,
yeah,
like mountain or something like that. So he says, like, yeah, I was with her last night, and then I saw the guy from Planet X, the controller.
Oh,
Meanwhile,
you were just high again.
I woke up and, or is it some kind of a kink thing? Was it like, I just like to watch. I'm the controller.
Don't mind me. Go about your business.
And there was all this talk about like, oh, how are we gonna get Godzilla? Oh, we got to figure out how to get Godzilla out of the lake. And then like the spaceships are just there, and they're just floating over the lake where Godzilla is. And then like they go to commercial. It looks like, do you know what's going on? This like it's like the screen just goes black first. It like fades out like a quick second.
Don't know what that's about.
It's very weird, but the aliens come down and they're like, yes, we can take Godzilla and Rodan. We have the technology to do this. We can transport them across the galaxy.
I would just like to comment on the sound effects of the UFOs and how they look like bath toys too. They're like comically like fat, you know. They look like they're inflated.
Yeah,
and they're like, you're like so. It's so dopey. Love it.
I love how Godzilla, like when they bring him out of the lake, he's like in like a little bubble, and he's like just kind of sitting like
he's like in a fetal position almost.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know. It doesn't look very menacing at all.
No.
Well, it's like when he was like taking a nap in like the Roman Colosseum, but he was like taking a nap like underwater, and they just kind of like scooped him up. Yeah, I saw like actually, I saw on Instagram today this lady like take a plastic bag like from the bodega and like scooped up her orange cat and just like dumped him in the trash can. And he was so happy about it. He didn't care at all. He was like scooped up and then, you know, like cat in a box kind of thing. He was like, oh, cool. Thanks for putting me in the trash can.
Hey, thanks for taking me to Planet X.
Yeah. So maybe that's what they did to Godzilla. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you know, he's supposed to be this monster, but he's kind of all like.
He was taking a nap, though. You know what I mean? He doesn't know that he's going to Planet X or Y or Z or LGBTQ or whatever.
Any of those,
you know?
Yeah.
He might be all freaked out, especially when they leave Earth's orbit. He might be like, "What the fuck is going on?"
I was just in a lake a minute ago.
No one even asked, "Come with."
Yeah, and I was just
whoa.
On the second or third level of inside the Earth, Middle Earth, and then you're bringing me out.
That's right. How many levels of Earth was in? Godzilla versus Kong or whatever, Godzilla X Kong or whatever. Yeah, they grabbed Rodan too. He's like in a mountain
for some reason.
Just hanging out there. Well, wasn't he did he fall in a volcano or something in his?
Yeah, that was in his own movie. But then in the last movie, he was in it, and I don't remember him being in a mountain at the end. But maybe he just borrowed in there later on, just as a pterodactyl.
I kind of like this. Yeah,
it's cool. It's nice and cool at this time of year in the mountain. Get in there.
I heard there was also Mothra was originally supposed to be in this movie, and they just didn't have the budget to add another monster.
Yeah, this movie uses a fair amount of stock shots in it too.
Yeah.
Well, Mothra maybe had a shooting schedule, was in London doing another production.
Yeah,
I think
it in.
Yeah, she was working on a movie with Michael Caine or something.
But if I told you, Mothra is also starring in my movie.
Yeah. What if I told you, Master Wayne, that Mothra wrote me a letter?
He and Mothra were ordering 2 Bahama Mamas. Sorry, my favorite Michael Caine movie is obviously Jaws the Revenge. Glenn's getting some, but he's gotta go. He's going back to Planet X.
Yeah. You know what? The best thing is she's like, don't go. And he's like, I'll marry you when I get back.
Yeah, she's like, stay. Why can't you stay and we'll be married? It's like, we just met.
Yeah, back off, baby.
You can wait till I get back from work. Okay.
Yeah.
She's really thirsty. Anyway, but I love it. Like they get on the ship and they're all wave. The aliens have those curly. Like you were saying, they do have those curly boots.
Elves.
Yeah, the Santa elf boots. That's when I really noticed it. I was like, oh. But Akira Takarada's got some cool sunglasses. That's
I know. I love that his outfit. It's like the sunglasses and the stupid uniform and the white gloves and like white boots. It's a look.
It's like staying alive.
Yeah.
I like how they point out that they traveled 1/10 the speed of light, which seems like I don't know anything about, but I mean, you talk about Star Wars, like, oh, we're gonna make the jump to light speed and whatever. There's like ludicrous speed in Spaceballs, but 1/10 seems almost kind of slow.
Yeah, that's
compared to movies that came later.
Well, you got to keep it in the solar system speed limit or something.
I just looked it up. It's 30,000 kilometers per second. So.
Oh, okay.
186,000 miles per second.
All right.
It's not slow at all.
No, it's not slow as far as like you were driving down
it's not
the
slow
highway.
As West Street. Driving down West Street.
That old guy who was wearing the towel and the pants is mad at Nakajima. What's her name? Sorry, Nawakima. What? Shit, I forgot her name. Glenn's girlfriend there.
Oh, Namikawa.
Namikawa. And he's like, wow, you're getting very close to him. And she's like, no, I'm just getting information. It's all good.
About his
genitalia.
Just
getting some information. Yeah. Learning all about him. Anyway, so Tetsuro shows up. He's like, what's up with he wants to find out what's up with his invention. This is maybe my favorite scene of the whole movie. He like rings the doorbell or whatever, and he falls through a trap. And he's like, whoa, like, or whatever. He makes it kind of like a
Homer Simpson noise.
I did make a note. We're close to 50 minutes into this movie, and we've barely seen any monster.
Yeah, I should have warned you in advance. This has the least amount of like monster footage in it, or something like that.
I'm cool with the like City on the Edge of Forever, like Star Trek sets of the Planet X and everything, though. I like all the spacey stuff, like the almost
you're
like
the NASA guy,
almost like the Kubrick looking, like oh, this is like the Planet X like hideout and stuff, the long corridors and people walking through them, and just red buttons, blue buttons, yellow buttons. I'm into it.
There are a lot of but I want monsters though. But we get some. They Godzilla Rodan land. They confront monsters here, who I guess we didn't mention it, but that is King Ghidorah. But the funny, Godzilla does like a funny stretch, like after they let him out of his bubble. It's kind of so when I looked this up, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think they were trying to make it as though he was like a boxer in a corner kind of thing, where he's like, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay. When I looked this up, this is what ChatGPT said: that an intense battle ensues, showcasing the unique powers of each monster. Really, they just throw a lot of rocks. It's like,
well, that's a power. I guess.
It's fun. I mean, I'm not, Rodan drops some flies over, drops rocks on King Ghidorah. Godzilla kind of, he does like, he jumps on him, which is kind of cool, but I don't know why he didn't just do his fire.
Yeah, maybe the atmosphere of Planet X won't allow the fire to work as well.
All right, no prize for you.
Thank you. Just hand it to me in person next time we see each other.
Yeah,
he does. Just because I'm watching, he does actually zap him, but maybe not till a little bit further in the fight.
All right. Eventually, Ghidorah leaves, and Godzilla does his weird dance. But during the fight, Glenn and Fuji, they were sitting there watching it as it was happening, but then they decided to just take off. They just look over, like the old ambassador. The old Japanese ambassador guy kind of looks over and they're just gone. Like he doesn't even.
He was so enthralled by the
oh.
battle. He's like, oh, they were here a second ago.
Yeah, I guess so. The guards are like sort of doing this like Terminator, like walking after them, and they just kind of run. They get in this elevator, and then one of the guards I did notice they didn't dub him in, but he opened his mouth and nothing came out.
It happens.
So they get out of the elevator and they're kind of, I don't know if they're in wherever they are, but there's gold all around. So like, so they don't have water, but they have gold. Gold. It's gold, Jerry, gold. And then Glenn looks over and he sees his girl. It's Naoikama. And they all look like
Kawa.
Sorry.
I enjoy your mispronunciation of the name. I'm thinking of
Well,
not.
now you're gonna get some. There's like apparently every girl on that planet looks like because they asked like, hey, how come the girls all look alike? He's like, I think you would enjoy it, astronaut Mr. Glenn.
I do more.
It's like, yeah.
More dames.
Am I cheating? If I have sex with the same person, but they're actually different people. It's funny though. She also looked like she kind of looked like she was carrying a pizza. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was like I pictured like a box of chocolate she had that a different Glenn gave her.
Yes, this Glenn was nice to me. Anyway, yeah, but he's just like, that is not your concern. It's like, hey, why do all the dames around here look alike?
He's like, yeah, but beauty isn't just skin deep or whatever. It's in the heart or whatever he says, Yeah. I always like when he gets like sort of, lets down that tough guy persona and shows the world that he's also a tender guy underneath it all.
I am exaggerating a little bit, but it is funny. He's like, hey, yeah, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
He is extremely hammy in this movie. He went to like the William Shatner School of Acting or something. It's just there's a lot of, or he's like, what do you mean, baby? Or this ain't Philippines. Yeah.
So anyways, they bring out the cure of all diseases. It is it looks like it's a painted styrofoam like box thing, but it's all right. And they're like, we made a replica of your P1. What do you think? Anyway, so they just go home. They're like, you can go. Here's your cure. Thanks for helping us with Monster Zero.
So long. Thanks for all the fish.
You saved us from a living dead.
I'd like to point out in the Japanese version, it's a cure for cancer, not all diseases.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Cancer is
But this
is
a
bad one
because cancer would be included for the cure of all diseases.
That's true. Fuji points out that he thinks that Godzilla and Rodan are kind of like sad that they're leaving them behind. It's like, didn't they just kill like thousands of people every time they went on a
cause us enough trouble. Let them stay. They'll find their way home. They'll
find their way home.
Yeah, it's like 40 gazillion miles away.
Yeah, they'll have to go 1/10 the speed of light to get there.
Yeah, it'll take 3 hours. No problem.
So anyway, poor Tetsuo he's in a jail cell after he fell through the hole, the trap door, and his lady's looking for him, and that's just a little update on what's going on there. But the controller, meanwhile, says execute plan 2, item 4, schedule 5. You got that? Like,
it's something really boring in reality.
So they get back.
More
they want to play the cure is on this like reel-to-reel tape, which is, I don't know, really funny to me.
The aliens have to dumb it down for humans. They're like, our technology wouldn't work with yours, so here's a reel-to-reel tape.
It's a reel-to-reel tape. You guys have mastered space travel. You're still using reel-to-reel recording.
It's like on the real probes they sent out, they put
records.
The records, yeah. But I guess an alien species would like try to figure out how you could listen to that, but I still don't know how records work. So good luck, alien.
Yeah, right.
Especially if the record gets scratched and it skips and keeps repeating a word over and over again, and the aliens are like, why are they just chanting over and over?
What if they played it backwards and it was like a satanic message or something? It's not a cure, but it's a recording of the controller saying that they should surrender and become a colony of Planet X. It's all very dramatic. There was a guy who just says, what should we do? And he says, we should pray.
Thoughts and prayers, guys.
Yeah.
We got to pray just to make it today.
And there's one of those like newsreels, which is always a great
Those are my favorite.
staple.
Yeah. Was it like showing all these civil unrest through like newspaper headlines and stuff, and a voiceover guy's like, some wanted to surrender and then others.
So anyways, yeah, Glenn is he goes to see Nakajima, and she says she's caught feelings she's caught feelings for him, but so he's like, if you just surrender, then we can marry.
He's like,
yeah,
look,
but
you're really to put a ring on it is essentially saying to him.
It's like, but like, what if I married the other one that looks like you? Or what if I married, how do I know you're not pulling some kind of Three's Company, like, oh, it's the twin sister.
If I was her, then I'd be like, well, then you get to have sex with two people that look like me. So
I guess that's
win-win.
True.
Not really win-win. Win for you, I guess.
Win-win. Yeah, win. It's just one win.
I'll try to keep this PG as possible, but I wonder if her hands feel the same when you're holding her hands.
Hands.
I knew it. I was thinking of that too. But if she looks exactly like her, then her hands are probably exactly like her too.
Exactly the same.
It's all.
Hands.
Yeah.
I mean, she probably
better be good hands.
Let's just leave it at that.
All right. But I love. He says he doesn't want to surrender. He said, "We're not robots."
Namikawa, we're not robots.
It's like an old audio comic, the way Ray would always say, robots.
Yeah. I just love Nick Adams' performance. And by the way, I guess we should go into why we're always calling him Mr. Horny, because that was the nickname that Akira Takarada gave him. But one of the other actors would teach Nick Adams like just goofy phrases in Japanese. Nick Adams actually took an actual interest in trying to learn more about Japan while he was there, and
he really loved making the movies too.
Yeah,
really
so
did.
he would they would, and he had a thing for Kumi Mizuno here, Miss Namakikake or whatever you would call her.
Well, now you're just being ridiculous.
I know. I'm sorry, I took a little too over the top. So they would talk on the phone and with like English to Japanese dictionaries trying to figure things out. But apparently, one of the words that was taught to Nick Adams was horny, and he would walk around saying it. Wasn't necessarily that he was being like a goof, being like I'm horny. It was someone playing a joke, and he didn't realize what he was saying a lot of the times. And like sometimes he would go on to the the set and try to greet people, but what he was saying was like, "How are your profits from this movie going?" or something like that. And they'd be like, "Why is this guy saying weird shit to us all the time?" And it just turns out,
"Hey, I'm horny."
Hey, I'm horny. How about them profits?
So I guess you would call that like the Japanese language tattoo problem. It's like, oh, give me the Japanese letters for hope, and it's like really Mr. Horny, like really.
So what was the story? So who was Mr. Hornier?
Mr. Hornier was Cesar Romero.
All right.
On what was the name of that movie? Latitude Zero. But I think Akira Takarada might have gotten that one messed up because Cesar Romero had that Latin lover reputation, but I think he was really gay in real life. So I mean, I guess you
can still be horny and gay,
just not in the way that my dad was telling me about it when I saw him last.
Love that Joker.
Exactly.
That's right. All right, so in the Exilians or whatever, they show up and Glenn pulls his toy gun out and they shoot that right out of his hand. And they're gonna take it away. She says, "Don't go." She goes over and she stuffs something into his pocket, and then they shoot her with like a disintegrator ray thing, and she is no more. Except there's a million other ones just like her.
Well,
that's not a comment.
No, it's just it's not a comment on anything. But she was. What did she say that their emotions are controlled by computers? But with her, she found a computing emotion that she could really feel, or something stupid,
something weird like that. So
I found a view beyond comprehension.
Anyway, so they take Glenn away. He doesn't seem that upset, to be honest.
He's like, there's plenty of other exactly the same fish in the sea.
Meanwhile, they mentioned that Ghidorah is in the U.S. and they're like, "Oh, are they going to use nukes?" And it's a whole like they say, "Oh, he's terrorizing." Why don't you just show us this? This is a visual medium here.
Hey, you can't put Mothra in because of a budget. You can't show or ruining the country.
Yeah.
We do that just fine without his help.
Yeah, right. We don't need him. Anyways, so they destroy their P1. They show they're like, oh no. The true intentions of the Planet X people was to get Godzilla and Rodan to control them. They can all come
with computers.
Yeah, with magnetic waves, in fact. Well, that's how they control Ghidorah. They want to control Godzilla and Rodan as well. So it's like, why did you need this whole ruse?
Yeah, just do it.
Like,
well,
just do it.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be a movie if there wasn't a ruse, I guess.
I guess that's true. So they throw Glenn in the same prison as Tetsuo. And they're like, oh, no. There's no way out, he says.
The other thing, too, he's like, why is everything soundproof here? He's like, yeah, the walls are soundproof. Even the bars in our jail cell are soundproof. I was like, well, they're big spaces between those bars.
I didn't get that either. What do you mean? You can't soundproof like air.
Yeah, I know. It's like this open field is even soundproof.
Get it? There's a force, an invisible X-Men type force field.
Yeah,
there.
they should have just put them in a bubble. You know,
Yes.
But they didn't have the silent bubble maker on Earth at their headquarters. They left it on Planet X by accident.
Well, there's a quick scene here where the controller there's like 8 guys there, the 8 aliens, and he's like, "You will kill all the people on Earth." Like, just us?
Me?
That's like a billion people per alien.
No
we have to. You mean we each got to kill a billion people? Back then, it was probably like 5 million. But
yeah, so it was more manageable. Like you had plenty of guys if you had 8 of them.
Sure, you don't even have to kill a billion.
I don't know if this is the same scene or not, but it's like when 2 of them come up like the spiral staircase and like look like they're like, oh fucking Christ, I can't walk in these shoes and I can't see with these dumb glasses on.
I didn't notice.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, so they have this thing and they're discussing how they can sever the magnetic waves. They don't really say it. It's sort of just the explanation seems to just be science. I don't know.
That's all you need. That's all you need, baby. Just like in Secret Monkey number 3. It's like, how do we defeat these guys? I don't know. Waves. Magnetic waves, sound waves, whatever. Who cares?
EMP. That's always a big one in comics, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Glenn and Terry, Glenn finds his note, the note that she shoved in his pocket. I don't know when she wrote it, but it's like this kind of weird love note thing. But it also says that they are vulnerable to sound, the aliens. So Terry's invention would hurt them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Doesn't she sign it like with her full name or something? She signs it in a really weird way. Like
Nagasaki.
Nagasaki Namikawa.
That's right. Yeah. Thankfully they threw Tetsuo in there with his thing. They didn't like this thing that can kill them. I don't know why they left it with him.
It looks like a makeup compact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a tiny little.
Maybe they just thought he was a little effeminate, and they didn't bother to check to see if that thing, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they didn't open it and check it out, and so they use it on the guard, and the guard is like, ah, which I mean, I don't blame him. I mean,
I don't
not
either.
Necessarily
but if those bars
but...
were really soundproof, that shouldn't have affected that guy.
Wait a minute.
The whole movie's flawed. Forget it.
Forget it. And then they get out and they jump on this boat. Now they showed how far away this island that they're on was, but they blow up the boat. Like the aliens blow up the boat, and then Glenn and Tetsuo are just kind of like, it was like a decoy, like they weren't in the boat.
Yeah, they started the boat and just let it go. Well, they were hiding under the dock or whatever.
Yeah, and then they go, it's like, all right, let's get to swimming. It's like, wait, what? Aren't you like miles away?
Well, I can travel 460,000 light years in 1 second. I'm a good swimmer.
And then they're just there in the next scene, and just like, hey, we got this sound, this sound thing.
I like when Tetsuo comes up to me. He's like, oh, that'll work. And then Fu just like, beat it, Tetsui.
You're not getting any closer to my sister just because you saved the Earth.
Yeah.
So yeah, they had given them the aliens had given them like a cutoff, like, oh, you have 8 hours or whatever the hell it was, and then they come early and they're like, oh no, and then
isn't there a woman that just like look out the window?
So yeah, they wake up and they sick Godzilla and Rodan on everything. And this is where we get the stock footage from the previous movies where they're trashing, the cities and stuff. There is one cool moment where there's like a tank and it shoots Godzilla right in the head. He's like, "Ow!" Like it's kind of like head. And then Monster Zero, King Ghidorah shows up and shoots that. It's three heads. Could be anything. They destroy some models. And then they do this like thing where they're like, okay, they actually put on there's like a radio guy like, don't be disturbed by this sound that you're going to hear. In fact, turn your radio up. And they broadcast the sound.
The radio.
It's kind of like a Mars Attacks kind of thing, I feel like at the end of Mars Attacks.
Oh, yeah.
They play the sound and the aliens are like, ah! Ooh, or whatever that the Mars Attacks.
Slim Whitman.
Is that what that was?
Yeah. It's like a yodeling guy, country music guy.
Nice. Yeah, so then they're all like, oh no, the aliens are like screaming, and it's too bad their heads aren't exploding like the Mars Attacks guys.
But that would have been tough to do back then.
Yeah. And then they get their magnetic thing they use it on the monsters. Rodan kind of like flops down and kicks his legs around. Godzilla kind of looks drunk, and he's like, oh, I'm not under control anymore. And then the aliens, they say, we have to escape into the future. Whatever that.
Blow themselves up.
I don't know what I say.
Hit the wrong
if you
button.
could go in the future, why didn't you just go there in the first place? Oh well. I guess they needed our water. I don't know. But anyway, then we do get a big monster fight. Finally.
I like Godzilla when he kind of comes out of his stupor at this part. He opens his eyes and just kind of like looks around for a minute, and it's really funny to me.
And then like he does look like this is the scene he does kind of look like a boxer. He's kind of like he's got like his fists looks like Rodan grabs Ghidorah's tail. Ghidorah shoots Godzilla's feet. That was one thing I thought was kind of funny. It's like ow, ow, ow.
Dance, Rummy.
Yeah. And because it's it wouldn't be the same thing. It wouldn't be a Japanese kaiju movie if somebody didn't fall in the water. So.
Well, yeah, that's like a running theme in these movies.
Yeah. So Godzilla rode in. They jump on him. And they all three go in the water. But King Ghidorah comes out, flies out. I guess I don't know. That's it.
That's it.
But they say, yeah, that's kind of it. And then they say, Glenn, you're going back to Planet X as our first ambassador. It's like, what? Those guys are assholes. Why do we have them? What?
Why? I gotta go back?
Wait a minute. They just tried to kill us all. I don't think he'd make the best ambassador.
No,
hey, you guys just tried to take over our planet. No beauty in that. There's beauty is in the eye. Anyways.
Man, I'm horny.
But yeah, that's kind of the end. Like it's a little
he's like whatever you say, pal. And Mrs. Elder and I used to do this when she would leave for work, and I'd wave out the window but like we do the thing where we did the thumbs down because you have to head to work just like in the movie where he has to head back to Planet X. Give the thumbs down to that. And then there's always that same like musical note where like the end comes up and it always goes, and like the end comes towards the screen. I might be thinking of the Japanese version. I don't know if they do it in the English version.
I don't remember, but yeah, that's kind of the end of the movie where he just goes, whatever you say, pal. Like, and it's just like, oh, all right. Well, I guess that's how it works. But yeah, that was the end of the movie. And I thought that was a little bit of a like not anticlimactic, but I don't know. We didn't get to see a victory dance at the end. I mean, I wanted a happy moment.
Well, no, it's the equivalent to the Snowwalker attack in Empire Strikes Back. That's
But
that's
that
where
was
George
in the
Lucas-
that was at the beginning.
well, look,
There's more
it's
movie.
I don't know what that sounds like.
Well, look it. I
Look
love
it.
you always. Hey, well, look it.
Well, hey, look,
Oh,
we're not
Lord.
robots. We don't write. We don't use chat. Needs it to write our scripts, Namikawa.
We're not robots.
There
Hey,
was a line he yells at her at one point that I'd like too, where she's like, "This is something." He goes, "No, it isn't." He's just probably have to lower my sound in the mixing here at the end. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. Do we want to just get this? Is what do we
Yeah.
think of this movie?
Let's go.
What do we think of
Who wants to go first?
Invasion of Astro-Monster? I know someone else. Clay, I was remembering on an older podcast. Clay thinks the loophole of me always asking who wants to go first is sort of insinuating that I will not go first. But I can absolutely go first if you.
I only would defer to not going first because I don't have as much stuff to say about this one as you guys, so I could go last.
All right, I'll go. I was a little disappointed. I mean, it was fun talking about it actually with you guys. I'm gonna say that right now. As I was watching it, I was kind of like,
Monsters. I want monsters.
Yeah, I wanted monsters. Kind of like, when I was a kid, and it's weird. We used to fast forward over it when the movies would be on TV, or we would record them, off of TV, like Creature Double Feature or whatever. We're like, oh, this is fast forward to the monster parts. I feel like the monster parts in this would have been like, there's very little. Maybe that's fine, I guess. Like maybe it's just me. I feel like if I sat and watched it with you guys, I would have had a great time.
Yeah,
but like sitting there in front of my computer, I was a little bored.
How that would happen. Even the way you're watching it makes it sound like it would be a boring experience for you. Sitting there, watching it in front of my computer.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It was funny though too, because I remember after last episode, I'm like, oh, we should do a Godzilla movie. It's his 70th birthday. Let's celebrate the 70th, anniversary of this great thing. And you were like, I was like, which one do you want to do? And you suggested this one. I'm like, really? John couldn't have found a better one than this.
I had better. There are better ones. I just figured this would be sort of a fun one. Well, I'll get into it when I give my final thoughts.
I mean, again, it's not that it's good. I wanted more monsters. That's all. You have to kind of put it into perspective a little bit more, I guess. You know what I mean? Like I said, space race, all that stuff. Like, I mean, it's all fine. It's a goofy. What do I want? Like, this isn't Shakespeare. It's a Japanese monster movie.
It's not like a Godzilla movie would ever win an Oscar or something.
Oh well, it did. Oh my!
I'm eating my crow now.
Well, this one.
This one definitely did.
It's hard. How do you grade a movie, on the cheesiness? I guess you grade it on if you enjoyed watching it, which I guess also I didn't really enjoy watching it.
Well, then give it a grade.
Like taking notes, and so it's hard. It's a C. I don't know. It's weird.
Oh,
I can't. That seems low. But
hey, look, if you had a rough time getting through it, give it a C.
I think I did. But talking about it now, I'm like, oh, that was funny.
Yeah, I think you needed. It was like watching Mystery Science Theater. When you're watching it by yourself, it's not fun. It's when you have a couple people around and you're watching it, it becomes much more of a group thing, and that was probably the way this movie should have been watched.
Yeah, and I agree. Even in a theater, even if I was sitting even if I went to see it like by myself or something, let's say, which I probably wouldn't have done, but just people around, watching it on my laptop is not probably the optimal way to watch this movie.
While taking notes too.
Right, but that's the way I watched it.
Talking to Chat GPT. Like
what happened in this movie? And some of it was not quite. I mean, it was accurate, but it wasn't like that descriptive.
Well, it's not descriptive in the way that you would describe it.
Right.
It's not personal. It's just like
Like,
Just
I thought that guy in the
Dragnet.
towel and pants was really funny, and Chat GPT gave me
Yeah.
nothing.
Didn't
Yeah,
even mention it once.
It's Dragnet. It's just the facts, man. You know?
Yeah.
I
I use Gemini.
I could yeah, I used Gemini for this one. I can go next though. I don't need to go last unless John, you want to go now.
Oh, it makes no difference to me, Grimlock. I have no responsibility here whatsoever.
Well, I'll go next because I actually, not a purposeful way, but my feelings toward watching this movie were a little bit opposite of Dursin. So I just like a fun old monster movie. I would never like just sit and watch a movie and like fast forward to the monster parts. I never did that when I was little on Creature Double Feature because you couldn't, right? That's probably the last time I saw any of these movies was when I was like 5 to 8 years old. You know what I mean? But I also
Right.
my own personal fetish, as you guys know, is like sort of space stuff. So I like watching old Star Trek, and this reminded me of like old Star Trek episodes or like that old sci-fi. I like to see literally all the details of like, you know, how they make like a spaceship and the enemies like lair and the different planets and like literally the cheesy bad special effects. Like I really like looking at that stuff because it's fun, and I go like, oh, I wonder if I could do like a matte painting thing at home, and like what if I built a model
Matte
like
painting.
John does, and like film some little thing and be like, oh, it's have like a CGI rocket go somewhere, but then like have the elevator going down the rocket ship was like one of my favorite things.
It's awesome. I also like when the Planet
Yeah.
X UFOs went into when the side of the mountain opened up on Planet X and they went in. I'm like, did they film that sideways and they just have it go, film, but they turn the camera so it looked like it was going straight in?
What do they call that? The Batman thing, like the Dutch angle.
Yeah. To make it look as though it was flying straight in. Otherwise, I mean, the wires would have got boink right when it was entering.
There's a movie that like
the wires. I mean, yeah, who thinks of that stuff except
the movie that we saw as a kid where like they build a spaceship in the backyard. What what that one is? And they're like some alien comes and visits them. It's almost like E.T., but it's not.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. Explorers? Is that what you think?
Yeah, Explorers.
Oh yeah.
And then they're like watching. When I watch an old movie like this, I always think of a quote from that movie where they're like watching a movie that is kind of like the Planet X part of this, and one of the kids is like, oh, this is so bad. It's like kind of like Dursin, but then the other kid, the line I always remember is like kind of like me. He's like, oh, come on, man, you could hardly see the strings. Like that's kind of like I'm kind of like look at it like a just a different like perspective on it. Like, oh, like I like I like to watch this thing, and the three I like this movie not having really seen it. I'm sure I have seen it, but not watching it for the podcast. The Three Monsters, awesome. And I like that the lightning, and anytime sort of lightning comes out of like a cannon or something, it's just literally drawn like on the film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I love all of that stuff. So I wouldn't give it a C. I'll probably give it like a B plus, basically because I like all the space stuff from the aliens, the rockets, and that they're exploring and it's around the space race and the atomic dread of all Godzilla films, and that there's three monsters in it. It's a big crossover, big hit for me. So I give it a big plus.
How about that?
I mean, I wish I had that in my mind. I don't know, for whatever reason. Maybe I was just sad that day.
There's a lot of stuff going on lately, so slightly distracting.
And there's like the thing you guys say where it's like, and I don't take offense when you're like, well, you can like enjoy anything. Like I wish that I could give that to you, Dursin, and be like, hey, just fucking put the Chat GPT in your notebook down and just sit there and watch it. And then do like then like watch it and skip around and make some notes later or something. And I'm not telling you how to do your job or anything like that, but just when I watch it, I just watch it, and I might watch it twice, and then the second time or it depends on what movie we're doing. But if
I think for a movie like this,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, for this movie, it was definitely would have been better if I just took one pass at it just to watch it, and then
if it's like something that this, like, let's say there's never any stakes anyways, but let's just say this one has no stakes. There's no stakes to whether or not Ghidorah, or you're not, it's not like James Bond or something. You don't need to know how Ghidorah gets down to Earth. You don't really need to know any of it. None of it matters.
Right.
So like, just watch it and try to have fun. And then maybe like try to make notes later or something like that. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Watch it on the big TV. Watch it on the big TV.
Right, instead of on the laptop. But I mean, I just want to say, and I meant to mention this earlier, but like, there was only 5 minutes of Godzilla screen time in this movie.
Oh, wow.
That is very, very low. And in fact, that is a record for how little screen time Godzilla was.
I am sorry. Next time you
That's
ask
okay.
for a
I'm not
Godzilla
mad.
movie, I will find the movie that has the most monster stuff in it.
I don't know.
That's a detail that I totally get why. I totally get it why you want more Godzilla, but that's a detail that doesn't affect my enjoyment of the movie at all.
He has 5 minutes of screen time, and like 30 seconds of it is dancing. I mean, what do you?
That should make it even that much better.
I guess you're right. At
least they're used their time wisely.
They could have done like 3 minutes of dancing, and it would have been fine.
Did you even call out when we were doing the review here, like when he did the dance part?
Yes.
I might have fugue stated out. Do you know how they made the Godzilla roar? In the original?
No, I don't.
I don't. A glove and a guitar, like a bass guitar.
Go back and listen to our previous Godzilla episode, and then listen to it again when we talk about
LeaguePodcast.com/Godzilla.
That's right.
And pay close attention to my reaction when Clay repeats what we had already talked about.
Add pandemic brain.
Look, everybody was stressed.
It was fine.
We're about to go through the same thing again, I'm sure. Anyway,
let me get to
another
pandemic.
We'll just drink some bleach. It'll be fine.
All right. We got to cut all this stuff out. No, I don't want to antagonize anyone.
All right.
If they're listening to a Godzilla podcast, then they're on our side.
Probably. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna agree with Clay. I'm giving this a B+ as well, and I'm also going to agree with Clay. I didn't mind that there aren't so many monster parts in this one, and maybe that's because of Akira Takarada and having met him a couple times. And then finding out that he was my father. I mean, that was a bit of a surprise, announcing that during a panel. That was a little weird.
Wow,
Dad, you could have said something yesterday when I was hanging out with you, but you decided to say something here in front of.
He wanted everyone to be able to celebrate that.
He was proud of
it. Just look it up on YouTube. Type in Akira Takarada's son and the Mari Kovic with the DNA. The DNA test is going to come out. Yeah. I actually I don't mean to interrupt you, but did I ever tell you guys I went to a Mari Kovic taping once?
No.
And they taped like 4 episodes.
You told me this story once. But
but it was definitely like a DNA test thing. It was fun.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Well, anyways, so B+.
B+. I enjoy all the human parts. I love Nick Adams, just over the top acting, and maybe I enjoy him more since I did that Akira Takarada panel a few years back. Mr. Takarada has since passed away. So that was sad. Because he was just telling us all these stories. I lost my train of thought, I guess, when we started talking about something else there. I'm trying to get back to where I was going to go with all this stuff. And I love Kumi Mizuno. She's like the sexiest Japanese actress I've ever seen. She has a cult following. to this day still with us as far as I know. She was in her 80s.
Wow.
And, I want to also mention that if you want to go back and listen to our North by Northwest episode, that Eva St. Marie, is that her name? The woman that was in it? Turned 100 over the summer.
Holy shit.
Still here, still kicking. And
Wow.
Anyway, so yeah, B+. I liked the human parts. I liked the chemistry between Nick and Akira Takarada. In real life, they became friendly, from everything I've heard, despite the fact that I think Nick Adams was a little fucked up, just emotionally in general. Everyone had nice things to say about him. I mean, he did die of an apparent suicide or an accidental overdose. No one's quite sure if it was intentional or not.
So he was like the classically handsome American leading man actor.
He was like good friends with James Dean. In fact, there was a scene in Rebel Without a Cause that he went and overdubbed because James Dean was dead at that point. So that's the kind of guy that's like his mold. James Dean, like early Marlon Brando kind of, tough guy with a sensitive side kind of thing. I love all the goofy special effects. The P1 is just a ridiculous looking rocket ship, but I still love it. I love things with miniatures, effects and things like that. So yeah, B+ for me.
There we go. I mean,
I
feel bad I brought the class grade down,
It's okay. You usually bring the class down, if you know what I mean.
So wait, Kumi Mizuno, you said, right? She apparently she was born in 1937.
Look at her go, huh?
Still around. Born on New Year's Day, 1937.
Oh, by God.
Good for her. Yep. Still here. Still with us.
That's an easy way to, if you're born that day, to know like how old you are.
Yeah, working
out nice
on the first day.
As old as the calendar says. So yeah,
Baby New Year.
Well, I'm not. I mean, I don't want to say like, oh, this movie is terrible. I'm never gonna watch this movie again. But sometimes watching stuff for the podcast.
I'm giving you a bell curve that, like, not necessarily your grade, but your enjoyment level is probably not reflected in your grade or your review if you were to like really just watch it. You know what I mean?
This has happened
I would have watched it
a few times to us where we watched a movie, didn't enjoy it that much, and then we started talking about, like, Bullet was one of those movies for me. I was like, yeah, this is fine. But as we were talking about it, I was liking it more. I know that happened at least other times. So
diversity of thought.
I forget what it was. Recently, it was something you were like, I didn't really like this movie until we started talking about it.
Yeah.
But you're right, Clay. 3 monsters. How can you go wrong, right? I mean, as a kid, too.
3 monsters, and one of them has 3 heads. So that's almost like...
I know.
I'm just picturing myself. Yeah. I'm just picturing myself like WLVI, creature double feature. This is the second one. You know what I mean? And like just sitting through it and being like, ooh, spaceship. And then eventually, and it's probably, maybe those were like cut down so that the movie's an hour or something. I don't know. But yeah, I could just imagine being like really excited and being like, oh, 3 monster.
Yeah.
I'm 16 years old at this time. But
16.
I can't even say, I'm not saying 3 monsters. I'm saying 3 monster.
3 monster. I have to watch my show. Shut up. That was probably what it. My brother was around or something. I have to watch this.
Say that to
my dad was probably like, "Is this almost over?" I think Candlepin's on. I'm like, Candlepin's on right after this, Dad. 3 monster.
Well, so we.
That's a day well spent. I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
Two monster movies on a Saturday. It's just fantastic. You got your Saturday morning cartoons, and then once those were done, you got to watch 2 monster movies.
A little vegetable soup, a tuna salad sandwich.
Well, we didn't have cable. You know what I mean? We had like,
not then. Yeah.
5 channels or whatever. I mean, this is it.
And then even when you guys talk now, like about like, a Godzilla movie, or let's think of Godzilla or whatever, like all I think of is when I was super little watching Godzilla movies. I don't think about the new ones or anything. I like immediately think creature double feature. Be like, and then like, oh, this one has. And when we were in high school, and like Randy would our friend Randy, who we've mentioned many times on here, he would pick certain ones that I'd never seen before, and then we were really into those in high school, like Gamera versus Barugon, and like all these other, like, there were just particular movies that I like brought to me, and then there were like all the Godzilla ones I feel like I saw when I was a little kid.
Yeah, I think so too. But I also remember like realizing at some point, like whatever age I was, after Creature Double Feature wasn't airing anymore, but when we had a video store membership that I could rent, like Rodan, or whatever. Like, wait, I can watch this movie whenever I want.
Yeah,
nice. Like that was like a big eye opening. Like, what you could just go and rent it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's something I'm a little jealous of with you guys, that you had that like sort of Quentin Tarantino video store experience, and you got to like watch a bunch of movies like that.
Yeah, that was something we would put on.
I don't know where I'm gonna go when the volcanoes blow.
we like on a slow night, like a Wednesday or something. You throw on a movie, but sometimes we would go through these phases. We'd be like, oh, only trailers or whatever. But sometimes you could watch a movie, and sometimes you could watch whatever. But but I'm talking like when I was like 12 or something. Or like, oh wait, I could just rent these. Maybe even younger. I don't know. Like, kind of feel like renting a Godzilla movie. They didn't have that many in our video store.
There were only just a couple, but
yeah.
The amount of times I saw Godzilla in 1985, because that was the only Godzilla movie they had there. Which
my rental store was Mayette's.
Your Mayette's.
That's where I would rent stuff from. They didn't have a big selection either.
Oh man, but they had like comic books. I used to buy comic books there as a kid.
Yeah,
I used to buy them
go there all the time
on his way home.
That's right.
I need your fromage.
Well, yeah. Anyway, I mean, yeah. Maybe next time I'll take the time, do like a watch, and then
I've already got my next one. The next Godzilla film planned out that has a lot of Godzilla in it.
Or we could plan sometimes a watch. We haven't done a watch along in a while or something. Something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe we should. I was thinking that because you didn't weren't that jazzed on this one, maybe we should try a watch along.
Sure, watch along. It was a good pandemic thing. We haven't done it in a while, but we could. I mean, we still talk for like 2 hours about every movie we do, so might as well. But it's still a Godzilla movie. It's still fun. Thank you everyone for listening. Thanks
for talking.
Checking us out. Thanks for talking.
Thanks for talking.
Check us out on LeaguePodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube also. If that's not a place where you get your podcasts, you should try it. It's fun. Clay does a lot of work. Yeah. Clay does a lot of work getting our videos up there.
All of the, I guess, Google Podcasts isn't a thing anymore, so they want you to put it on YouTube. So we've been doing that for a little while before that even happened. So yeah, you could watch it or listen, but in a YouTube player on your thing. And also we are back with the new season of What We Do in the Shadows. So we got the Vampire Council stuff coming out. We took a little break from promoting and stuff, but we will be getting back on that horse and putting out more content. So just check us out in the feed and Spotify or wherever you're listening. And thanks to you.
Thanks to you. And all right, then we're gonna sign off. One more Akira Takarada. Ba 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 da da da.
Bon voyage.
Akira Takarada. Ba 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 da da da.